Lesson 2, Gender. In this lesson, the main thing that we want to communicate to you is that all Spanish nouns have gender. That is, they're going to be either masculine nouns or feminine nouns. Even things that are inanimate objects, we give a few examples here on the page. We talk about pencils, cars, and houses. In English, if we use the word pencil, there's no indication of if that word is a masculine word or a feminine word, because in English we don't have gender for our nouns. But in Spanish, you have to get accustomed to the concept that each noun is going to have a gender. Every time you memorize a noun, you need to also memorize if that word is a feminine word or a masculine word. Antonio, this concept of having a gender for each noun could be a challenge for our listeners. Do you think it's also a challenge for people who grow up speaking Spanish as their first language?
Since I grew up speaking Spanish, I grew up accustomed to this concept, so I never really had to think about it. But as you start learning the language, you're probably going to have to think about it at first, but then eventually you will get used to it.
So you're saying that as you grew up learning Spanish as your natural first language, you didn't really have to think about gender that much. So it just sort of came naturally.
Yes, that's right. I didn't have to work that hard for it.
But most of you listening to this are English speakers learning Spanish for the first time. So this may not come quite as naturally for you. You'll have to think about each noun and what gender that noun is.
At first, it's going to take some time to get used to it. But as time goes by and you keep practicing, if you practice it a lot, you'll get used to it.
And in each lesson, we have lots of exercises, usually about 10 exercises per lesson. So hopefully that'll give you a lot of practice with this, and it will help it to become a second nature to you as time passes.